Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy, man. For today's video, we got a video about Jim Jam High Roller titled Re-Raking My NBA GOAT Pyramid. So I think he did this like roughly 3 years ago or something like that. If I'm being quite honest, like the only 2 to 3 players that I could see really going on like the GOAT pyramid that have like maybe changed a lot significantly over the past 3 years is I would say, well, Giannis. I think Giannis definitely has like moved upon like one of the greatest power forwards of all time. Like I don't think it's a hot take, saying that really. I would say Steph Curry, what he's been doing the past few seasons. And, LeBron James get another championship perhaps, but really like the tier he's at is tier 3, man. I guess, wait. Oh, I'm sorry, tier 2, yeah. So, I don't know, like, do you personally think that was enough to play it past Michael Jordan? I'm still waiting until LeBron retires, man. I said he's going to play till he's damn 45, so we'll see. But let's check this out.
About 3 years ago, I released
Maybe I missed something.
Featuring 30 of what I believe to be the greatest NBA players of all time. And it's okay, but it could,
switch up a little
use
bit.
some work. So today, we're going to be updating the NBA GOAT pyramid.
Curious how much he's going to change of it.
Today's video is brought to you by
All right, man, let's show the man's code. Although I'm pretty sure it's like Jimmy or something like that. All right, man, where's this code at?
Today.
Yeah, code Jimmy, JXMY. Let's get it.
A few weeks ago, Shaq shared this basketball GOAT pyramid on Instagram. And I only know this because people were tagging me in the comments thinking it was mine, but it's not. The dead giveaway was LeBron being on tier 3.
Wow.
Also, current day Steph on tier 4 was a massive red flag. And a pretty solid player by the name of Hakeem Olajuwon was nowhere to be found on this pyramid at all. So,
all right, Shaq's just hating straight up. This is Shaq's hater list, man.
As cool as it would be to have Shaq share some content from the channel, this NBA GOAT pyramid is from someone else.
Wait.
But it did get
I'm
me
sorry.
thinking.
Yeah, Shaq. Okay, Shaq, what's your thoughts on this? No, I did not make this. All right, Shaq did not make it. It's a garbage pyramid. Okay.
With all of the events that have taken place over the last 4 NBA seasons, I think it's time we update our GOAT pyramid. So here's the pyramid I made 3 years ago, May 23rd, 2019 to be exact. Which means since this video was released, 4 new teams have been crowned champions, 4 MVPs have been awarded, and there has been 3.5 seasons worth of NBA context to consider for our new pyramid. Now I want to keep this new pyramid at 30 players like our original one. So if I add any players, I unfortunately have to take players off as well. And just like with my original GOAT pyramid, there are a few factors I'm going to be considering throughout this process. A player's peak, which I value more than longevity, their accomplishments and hardware,
which I'm really curious what he's going to do as far as his peak goes for like the younger players, because like I wonder if it's like Luka Doncic going to make it, because like he's been around but not like around super long, where we haven't really seen his peak, but what we've seen as far as his peak so far has been pretty damn dominant. It's just more of a short sample size as opposed to somebody in a long 10, 15, 20 year NBA career.
Skill and ability, and even the era that they played in. And of course, just like with my original GOAT pyramid, these selections are all based on my personal opinion. So with that out of the way, let's make some changes to this pyramid. So
at the end,
first things first, I have to make one massive adjustment to the top of this pyramid. Some may agree with it, some may not. But after winning his 4th championship and 4th finals MVP while climbing every all-time leaderboard over the last 4 seasons, LeBron James has earned a spot in tier 1. Because at this
come on, man. Which one is it? Okay, I agree with that. Like the tier's pretty cool. I agree with that, but like, man, I think 3-4 years ago that was still the case. I don't know. Like if you're not like picking one to the other, but when the 2 GOATs get like talked upon, like I feel like that's
this point, the all-time discussion has virtually become Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and then everyone else.
I feel like it's been that.
I still have MJ as the GOAT, but the gap between MJ and LeBron feels smaller than the gap between LeBron and whoever comes next. So I feel this change was necessary and well earned. But that leaves us with 3 players on tier 2. And that just looks weird. So when considering peaks and accolades and impact on the game and every other factor I can conjure up, I've decided to move Bill Russell and Larry Bird up to tier 2. In our original pyramid, I had Magic on tier 2 and Bird on tier 3. But with LeBron moving up, this gives room for Bird and Magic to be on the same tier.
Man, is this a bad take to say that maybe I got Steph Curry up a little higher than that too? Like, I don't know. Like, I look at all these players here, obviously, man, like, some of the all-time greats, but, like, I still feel like Steph Curry could be there.
As they should be. And Bill Russell, 11 rings, greatest defensive player of all time, there's not much to be said here. Now, there's two players in particular who have solidified their legacies over the last 4 seasons and have earned spots on Tier 3 with Shaq, Hakeem, Duncan, and Wilt. Those players are, of course, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Since 2019, Steph has proven without a shadow of a doubt that he's the greatest shooter of all time. And after winning his 4th championship and first Finals MVP last season, he's made the jump into Tier 3. Steph's brilliance and consistency season after season has extended his prime past where I think most fans would have ever considered. Now in his 13th season, at 34 years old, he's not only one of the best players in the league, he's putting together arguably the best season of his
I feel like if you move Kevin Durant up, though, then you gotta move Scottie Pippen up or something like that, bro, because Kevin Durant was basically the Scottie Pippen for Steph Curry winning those rings and everything. But if he can get one on his own, you know, I'll be impressed.
Career. And the same could be said for Kevin Durant. He's got all the hardware, a league MVP, 2 championships, and 2 finals MVPs. But what has bumped Durant from Tier 4 into Tier 3 is his relentless consistency as a generational talent. Since 2019, he's made 2 more All-NBA teams while averaging 29, 7, and 6. And this has earned him the jump from Tier 4 to Tier 3. And that brings us to Tier 4, which has some pretty major changes to it. And our first change comes with John Stockton, who gets demoted into Tier 5, which puts him at about the 5th or 6th greatest point guard of all time, behind Magic, Steph, Oscar, and Isaiah. Scottie Pippen also got demoted to Tier 5. I made this decision because despite Scottie's critical role throughout the Bulls dynasty, his talents as an individual player just don't warrant him a spot amongst players like Oscar Robertson, Karl Malone, and Julius Erving. And unfortunately, Dwayne Wade and Isaiah...
I was just hating on Kevin Durant, by the way. Like, do I really think he's Scottie Pippen? No, I don't. Come on now.
Thomas get demoted into Tier 5
just the role.
as well. All-time great players. But being in Tier 4 means a player is, at worst, a top 21 player of all time. And I just don't consider Wade or Isaiah to be of that caliber. But I would consider them both to be top 30 players of all time, with similar relatively short but brilliant peaks and playoff heroics throughout their careers.
Damn.
And with these changes, Tier 4 becomes a barren wasteland with only 3 players. So we've got some promoting to do. Starting with Jerry West, 12 All-NBA teams, Finals MVP, and 5 All-Defensive Team selections with career averages of 27, 6, and 5 a game.
I'm taking Dwayne Wade in a basketball game over Jerry West any day of the week.
The only other players in NBA history to achieve these career averages are LeBron James and Kevin Durant. So the logo gets the bump into Tier 4. My next promotion goes to Moses Malone. 3-time league MVP, a finals MVP, and one of the greatest rebounders the game has ever seen. Honestly, he should have never been in Tier 5 to begin with. So let's put him where he truly belongs. And my last pair of promotions goes to Dirk Nowitzki and Kevin Garnett. The individual dominance of both KG and Dirk that spanned over 2 decades is matched by only a handful of all-time greats. But if not their sustained excellence over the course of 21 seasons...
Man... I don't know. I just like... I ain't trying to be too nitpicky because it's the man's opinion and stuff like that. But... having Dwayne Wade bumped down and having like Dirk and KG bumped up like that, it just don't sit right with me. And that's not me hating on KG or Dirk. They're 2 of my favorite players of all time. But I don't know, like Dwayne Wade getting bumped down, and like, I feel like D-Wade should have stayed.
It was their massive peaks that earned them a spot in Tier 4. 2 of the most skilled, versatile, and imposing big men the game has ever seen. Which leaves us with Tier 5 and some tough decisions to make. There are only 2 players that made my original GOAT pyramid that did not make the cut in my new pyramid. And those players are Bob Pettit and Allen Iverson. But with all these adjustments, there are now 2 spots open.
Allen Iverson, man. You're taking away Allen Iverson? The answer?
For 2 new players. Of all the players who missed the cut the first time around, the players who I considered for my new pyramid were Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, James Harden, Chris Paul, and Kawhi Leonard. Of all the active players in the NBA, aside from LeBron, Steph, and Durant, these are the only players who even have a shot at making the pyramid. And since my original pyramid 3.5
so we
years
don't got
ago,
Luka.
Nikola Jokic has made 4 All-NBA teams, 3 of them being first-team selections. He's won back-to-back MVPs, he's led the Nuggets to the conference finals, and he's put up 2 of the most historically efficient and productive seasons in league history. It's only a matter of time before Jokic joins the GOAT pyramid. But at the moment...
Yeah, to me, the MVPs aren't enough, because if the MVPs, were a big-time indicator in this, then you would be seeing, like, Steve Nash on here, so...
It's just a bit too soon.
Yeah,
now, for
I agree with
the case
that.
of James Harden, I had to sit and really think about his potential addition to the pyramid. Harden had one of the highest offensive peaks in league history, averaging 31, 8, and 6 a game over the course of 6 seasons. He's won an MVP, he's made 7 All-NBA teams, and he's just one of 7 players in NBA history to win a scoring title and an assist title. But where James Harden falls short compared to other players on the pyramid is his performance in the playoffs. He just hasn't broke through on the biggest stage, and the heliocentric offense that allowed him to put up such unbelievable stat lines became a weak point to his teams in the postseason.
Yeah,
So
the hero ball, it just don't work. It just doesn't work. It's the same reason everybody's saying, Luka, get some help. But it's like Luka's playing hero ball. It's how the teams orchestrate around him. I made this point like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and people roasted me for it, but I don't know. Just like with him, when those stats are hero ball based, it just doesn't hit with me the same as opposed to putting up numbers, in a team oriented system. Somebody like a Tim Duncan or something like that.
For now,
like,
James Harden
that
does not
sacrifice
crack
means
the
something
GOAT
to me.
pyramid. The next player I considered was Chris Paul, one of the most complete point guards in recent years. And despite his lack of playoff success, he has managed to completely transform every team he's been a part of. CP3 is a tricky one because, as I touched on before, if you compare Chris Paul to John Stockton, who is in tier 5 on my pyramid, their careers are almost identical. And after CP3's first trip to the finals last season, their overall numbers and accomplishments only become more and more similar with time.
Right.
Chris Paul had a higher peak, but Stockton's record-breaking ability to generate offense for nearly 2 decades, while being a lockdown perimeter defender, gives him a razor-thin edge over CP3, in my opinion.
Probably the health
for now,
too, maybe?
Chris Paul doesn't quite crack tier 5, which leaves us with the 2 new additions to my
I don't know. I think I'm taking CP3 over John Stockton. Like, if CP3 had Karl Malone for damn 20 years, there's one championship coming out of that. There's one championship coming out of that. I mean, you had like Blake Griffin and stuff, and you had David West and Cam Johnson. Well, one is not like the others, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Pyramid. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kawhi Leonard. Now, since my original pyramid, which was released just before the end of the 2019 season, Giannis has went from a great, young, ascending player to a certified all-time great. In just 3.5 years, Giannis won a championship, 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 4 All-NBA first teams, 4 All-Defensive
he don't got the
first
longevity
teams,
yet,
and
but
an All-Star Game MVP,
he'll be over Dirk and
while
KG
averaging 30
when it's all
points,
said and done.
12 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. That's a pretty solid 3.5-year stretch for the big man. So I had to add Giannis to the pyramid, and I'm going to put him comfortably in tier 4.
There we go.
And
Okay,
with our
yeah,
second
I'm cool with
and
that.
final addition,
I'm
Kawhi
comfortable with
Leonard
that.
is added to tier 5. My original pyramid was created 3 weeks before Kawhi won his second championship and second finals MVP, which led to his greatness stock skyrocketing. Now, Kawhi is a tough player to rank among any all-time scenario because when he's playing, he's one of the greatest players to ever lace up. But over the last few seasons, he just hasn't laced up a whole lot. But it's impossible to look past his 2 finals MVPs and his run as the best two-way player in the NBA. So Kawhi gets added to the pyramid, but just barely, sneaking into tier 5. And there it is, my updated NBA
Oh, we got some more going on
GOAT pyramid. And I want to point out a few interesting things that I noticed throughout the process of making this. If we break down the pyramid by position, there are 6 point guards, 3 shooting guards, 8 small forwards.
Yeah, that's why I'm really happy he didn't add like James Harden, because I think Dwayne Wade is the 3rd best shooting guard of all time and stuff. So the fact that he was bumped down, I don't think James Harden decided to be up on it. Okay.
6 power forwards and 7 centers featured on the pyramid. I initially thought centers would have the largest presence here, with big men running the league for nearly 6 decades, but turns out a well-rounded, versatile wing has been the ideal archetype for a potential NBA great. If we break the GOAT pyramid down by the decade that each player was drafted in, then we'll find that among all players who made it onto the pyramid, 4 of them were drafted in the 50s, 3 were drafted in the 60s, 2 were drafted in the 70s, a whopping 10 players were drafted in the 80s.
Which is really crazy, like with the 80s one there. Well, no, because you got like Magic and you got Larry. I don't know, because like you just think about like the 80s, like, you know, I guess like late 80s, early 90s and everything like that being ran by Michael Jordan. So it's like, I don't know, man, like the fact that MJ was like so dominant. I gotta stop smoking damn weed before I do damn videos.
At least the era that featured the most all-time great talent. Giannis is the youngest player featured on this pyramid at just 28 years old, completely bypassing Tier 5 altogether and landing on Tier 4 after just 9 seasons in the NBA. This puts Giannis somewhere between the 15th and 20th best player all time. Giannis's ascent amongst the greatest players of all time was pretty quick, but we've seen a rapid climb to basketball royalty like this before. Back in 1996, the NBA announced the 50 greatest NBA players to commemorate the league's 50th anniversary.
Yeah, I'll see this
and
comparison.
despite some backlash on the selection, a 24-year-old Shaquille O'Neal was selected as a top 50 player all time after just 4 seasons in the NBA. The second youngest player that was selected for that exclusive Greatest 50 club was Scottie Pippen, who was 31. Back in 2009, sports writer and analyst Bill Simmons released his original basketball pyramid that featured 96 players. At the time, LeBron James was just 24 years old in his 6th NBA season. He hadn't won a league MVP yet, he had only made 1 trip to the finals at that point, and he just hit his peak. But a young LeBron not only made Bill's GOAT basketball pyramid, he was already so transcendently good that Simmons selected him as the 20th greatest player in NBA history. And after the last half-decade Giannis has put together, he has slingshotted himself onto the same trajectory.
Took him off the list.
Now I have to mention the handful of players that just narrowly missed the cut. Those players were Steve Nash, Patrick Ewing, Allen Iverson, Jason Kidd, Bob Pettit, Bob Cousy, James Harden, Chris Paul, Nikola Jokic, and George Mikan. All great players, but when the spots are limited to just 30, the criteria to make the GOAT pyramid is a hefty one. I imagine if we redo this pyramid again in 5 years, we'll see Jokic on here, we might see Luka Doncic on here, or possibly James Harden and Chris Paul. But for now, this is my new, and I think improved, NBA GOAT pyramid.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Obviously did a great job backing up his statements and everything, so I'm good with it. What y'all think, man? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and peace out, my friends.